Reppin' Philly ain't a choice, it's a way of life. PhillyGoat.com is your one-stop shop for Philly pride. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Look fresh, stay Philly, Philly Goat. Go Birds. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for March 12th, 2026. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. We got a full weather day in store today. It's literally 60 degrees outside, going to be 30 by the end of the day. We got some rain, we got some snow, we got some wind. Welcome to March in Pennsylvania. But we do have some Eagles news. It wasn't as crazy of a day as we've seen the past couple, but lots of things to get into. First, the report is on A.J. Brown that as of right now, they're kind of putting a pin in the trade. A.J. said he would like to be moved. However, the Eagles also said they'd rather not. So that's kind of where we stand. He's not going anywhere unless they get a fair price. Something tells me, everybody keeps speculating that, it'll be closer to training camp. Something just tells me he's going to start the season. It's going to be one of those things. If I guess it's a little bit different than what the Allen Iverson situation was, because AI didn't want to go, but the Sixers were looking to move him. Came back, won the MVP. Took him to the finals. So I could see something very similar happening here, or it could be a move. One thing's for sure, Howie's going to get what Howie wants out of this. So we'll see what happens there. The other big story was the Eagles never were actively shopping Jalen Carter. Some teams called and inquired about him once the Jordan Davis extension was announced. But it appears the Eagles are all in on Jalen Carter, which I agree with, and he was actually there supporting his friend, teammate, college teammate, Jordan Davis, as he signed his contract yesterday. Probably going to be the next one, and I think you have those two on the line. We've seen it when they're at their best; they're insane. Lots of rumors, shouldn't say rumors, but speculation about the Jaire Alexander trade last year. If you remember, Eagles traded, I think it was like a 6th or 7th round pick to the Ravens for Jaire Alexander, who said as soon as he came here mentally, he's not in the game and retired. There are some people speculating that Eric DeCosta, the GM for the Ravens, knew that. Lots of things are going to be coming out because of the Max Crosby thing. Not sure what to believe on that. But I did see an interesting tidbit late night on Twitter. Somebody had posted that technically the Jaire Alexander trade is listed as a transaction. And I did not confirm this. I usually don't recklessly speculate like this, Hugh Douglas. But I did see, and this is unverified, that according to this person, my source, so to speak, the Jaire Alexander transaction is mentioned on the Raiders or the Ravens website, but not on the Eagles. And the thought process is it was a 6th round pick. He was like, whatever, and didn't want it to kind of save face and save his reputation on that. I don't know. Would it surprise me if the Ravens weren't 100% truthful after the crap they just pulled with Max Crosby? Nothing would surprise me. What a complete and total bleep show. The fact that, I mean, you knew, and like there's anywhere reports that I saw that Max Crosby was 100% healthy. And essentially everybody said he's not fully recovered. He would not be cleared to play football right now. So obviously he's not going to pass. The fact that they had second thoughts and said, nah, we're good. hopefully it comes back to bite them. I do think it'd be hilarious if Howie though said, you know what, I'm gonna make a big deal about this and get an extra draft pick and pull a Howie Roseman thing. I have a feeling he would be very much celebrated. And maybe, you know what, if he's doing this and not really making a big deal about it to save face, if he comes out and holds their feet to the fire and goes to the NFL and says, look, this is BS, I think a lot of the GMs would applaud him for that, and maybe they'd be more willing to do business with him, because now everybody says when Howie calls, they're like, oh, God. So maybe it'll help that. I don't know. Just an interesting story. Yesterday, it was announced that Brandon Graham says he's coming back for his 17th season. And then at the same event honoring former coach Dick Vermeil, Vic Fangio said Jahad Campbell is dealing with a shoulder injury. Not sure if it's the same shoulder that he had in college or coming into the draft, but he's probably going to miss a lot of the offseason, which I don't know if that's something Howie will address, if they're going to put their faith in Jeremiah Trotter Jr., whom I really like. I think he's going to be a solid player. So that was two big stories coming out of the Dick Vermeil honor ceremony. Forget where that was at. But BG coming back and Jahad Campbell dealing with a shoulder injury. But the big news, and this is an interesting tidbit, and I'm going to connect some dots here. And the Eagles and Dallas Goddard agreed to extend the deadline till tomorrow for the void date of his contract. Now, this does two things. One, Dallas Goddard is still under contract with the Eagles, which means he's not a free agent. It also helps the Eagles with that $20 million dead cap space because he wasn't a free agent at the start of free agency. It will be post-dated. Should he go somewhere else, it'll be post-dated. And I think in general, the cap numbers now can be extended over the next couple years. So a smart move there by Howie. Not so smart by Dallas Goddard, because he is losing time if he does become a free agent to sign with someone else. However, I can't see why Dallas would do this unless they are in talks for a contract extension. Dallas has made it clear he would love to stay, finish out his career in Philly. I think with where the Eagles are right now, with bringing Grant Calcaterra back, with bringing Munt in to be the blocking tight end, I think it makes a ton of sense to bring back Dallas Goddard. So again, speculating here, but connecting some dots here, I don't think any agent or player would say, sure, we're loyal to the team that we're going to leave, so we'll hook you up, hurt our own free agency exploration to help you with some salary cap management. So I would not be the least bit surprised if at some point today, before the deadline, I don't know what time it is, whether it's midnight or like 3 p.m. on Friday, but would not surprise me in the least to see a contract extension for Dallas Goddard, which I really, really would. I would welcome that. I think that's a good move. Already has the familiarity with the players. That way they're learning the new offense together. And I do think he's had some of his best years with Jalen Hurts as quarterback. So I think from Dallas's point, it makes sense. From an Eagles point, it makes sense. And I can't see any other reason why Dallas would do that if he was not planning or deep into the negotiations with the Eagles. Not like, hey, let's try to work something out, but something where they are in the process of coming up to a mutually beneficial agreement for them. So stay tuned for that. But that's kind of where we stand now with NFL free agency. Pretty much exactly how I thought it would play out. I was not expecting Reek Woolen. I love that. It's a great, more on that. It's a great contract, 1 year, $12 million with the potential to be $15 million. Apparently he's one of those guys, young guys, very similar to Jalen Carter, who has some character questions, not so much off the field, but like the way he presents himself. We talked yesterday about the dumb penalty in the NFC Championship game. So I think that's what scared a lot of teams off. And who knows? He comes in here and balls out. Wouldn't be surprised if Howie said, hey, you and Q, extend Tariq Woolen, and then have 2 lockdown corners for the next 4 years or whatever it would be. Also, wouldn't be surprised if he comes in, balls out, and goes and gets a payday somewhere else next year. But I really like that move. So we'll see what happens. I expect it to be quiet over the next couple days, with the exception of announcing the Dallas Goddard extension, which would be huge. And like I said, if Howie is a wizard, if somehow he convinced Dallas Goddard to just push that back, and then they're still going to get rid of him. But either way, from a cap perspective, it does help the Eagles out, as now they're going to be able to push that number, extend it down the line, and spread it out over a few years. All right, Flyers get back into the win column last night, 4-1 over the Capitals. Owen Tippett, Jamie Drysdale, Travis Konechny, and Trevor Zegras all scored. This team, man, they're right there. They're 7 points out of a wild card spot, only 8 from the official playoff spot. So I don't know which way to go on this. I know I talked about pulling out the tank tracker, but let's see what happens tonight. They're in Minnesota, back-to-back. Probably means that Dan Vladar will be in goal tonight. So let's see what happens. And this could have been, speculation is swirling, could have been Alexander Ovechkin's last game in Philly. If it was, they did hold him scoreless, but he did get an assist on the Capitals' goal. Dude has been a Flyers killer throughout his career. Sixers back in action tonight out in Detroit. A very, very tall task for the Sixers as they look to win 2 in a row here. And then I didn't mention this yesterday, but I guess it's noteworthy since we talked last week about Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game, and we talked about Kobe scoring the 81. Also a Philly tie there, but Bam Adebayo with 83 points the other night. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, they were feeding him. They were trying to get it. It's Fugazi. And I will say this. 83 points is 83 points. The 100 points that Wilt Chamberlain got, first of all, nobody saw. There was like 3,000 people in Hershey Park Arena. I do think it's legitimate because Harvey Pollack, legendary statistician for the Sixers and the Warriors, confirmed it. So I believe it. But the story from that game was the Knicks were trying to stop him from doing it, and then the Sixers were doing everything they could to get him to 100. So that's what happens. Kobe's, I don't remember whether or not they were feeding him or Kobe was just shooting it. But that's what happens when you get close to these, right? You have Brett Favre falling down for Michael Strahan. Like, it's one of those things. So if that's what you want to hang your hat on, more power to you. But there's bigger fish to fry than whether or not Bam Adebayo's 83 points is legit or not. But I also want to say shout out and congratulations on a great career to Matt Cord, who announced he's retiring as a Sixers PA announcer after 28 years. One of the best to do it, going back to the Allen Iverson days. And finally, a 6-foot guard from Georgetown, number 3, Allen Iverson, and then with the echoes in the background. So shout out to Matt Cord for a great career as the Sixers PA announcer. Well, the United States called a break. They are moving on in the World Baseball Classic. Thanks to Aaron Nola and Team Italy, Team Italy got playoff Nola. 5 scoreless innings, 4 hits, 5 Ks. Not bad. Now, let's take that back to the Phillies. But I will say, usually right around there, that's where Nola would have given up and served up some meatballs. But shout out to Aaron Nola for a good game, getting Italy into the next round and helping out the United States in the World Baseball Classic. Now, if I am DeRosa, I am studying the rules to make sure I know everything I need to know. But what a mess. Speaking of bleep shows, Anyway, some quick housekeeping notes. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. You still can check out the latest Brotherly Birds breakdown wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We break down free agency. And of course, we are proud members of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network. Go to clashingconferences.com to see how you can join and what they can do for you today. And then yesterday's trivia question. We talked about Villanova, and we said Villanova has 3 national championships. Who is the only other Big Five team to win a national championship? That would be the 1954 LaSalle Explorers, led by All-American Tom Gola, the man they named the arena after down in Albany. Shout out to everybody who reached out about that. A lot of people saying Temple, but then realizing that Elite Eight with John Chaney, they did get to the Final Four twice in the 50s. LaSalle actually did go back to the final in 55, and then some people saying St. Joe's, but that St. Joe's Hawks team got to the Elite Eight. Same with the 1981 team.
Hey guys, guess what time it is? It's cookie season. I'm Ella here, your favorite Girl Scout, and we have your oldies but goodies. Lemonades, Dimmits, peanut butter sandwiches, and more. This year we have a new cookie flavor called the Explore Mug. My goal is 200 boxes, so please make that happen. You're gonna buy cookies anyway, so why not buy them from me?
All right, March 12th. First, we're going to go back to 1980. And on this day in 1980, Chuck Klein was inducted into the Hall of Fame by the Veterans Committee. Chuck spent 15 years with the Phillies, 3 stints, hit 243 homers, 983 RBI, batted .326 for his career. He was an All-Star in 1933, also the year he won the Triple Crown. Only Philly to win the Triple Crown. That year he hit .368, 28 home runs, and 120 RBI. Would take a season like that out of Bryce Harper this year. Just kind of throwing that out there. He did not win the MVP the year he won the Triple Crown, though. However, he did win the MVP the year before in 1932. Chuck is a 4-time home run champ, 2-time RBI champ, led the league in stolen bases in 1932, and of course, he hit the 4 homers in a game in 1936. He hit for the cycle 2 times, and his jersey is retired in the outfield at Citizens Bank Park. He's one of the P's out there because I forget whether, I think Grover Cleveland Alexander did not have a number. They didn't have numbers on the back of their jerseys, but I think for Chuck Klein, each time he came back to the Phillies, he had a different number. So I think that's why they put, and I will confirm that for tomorrow, but I think that's why they put the P out there. But he's in the Phillies Wall of Fame. But Chuck Klein inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1980 on this day by the Veterans Committee. And that does lead us to today's trivia question. Chuck Klein in 1936 hit 4 home runs in a game. Who are the other Phillies to hit 4 home runs in a game? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531 or the Discord channel, which is one of the links in the description. But what other 4 Phillies besides Chuck Klein hit 4 home runs in a game for the Phillies? Fast forward to 1981 and the aforementioned 1981 St. Joe's Hawks team. They were the 9 seed into the tournament, and they started it off with a 59-57 win over Creighton out in Dayton, setting up a date with the number 1 team in the country, DePaul Blue Demons. We'll have more on that next week. But St. Joe's starts off the tournament right in 1981, beating Creighton. I don't always want to say Creighton. I don't know why. Creighton. The Blue Jays. Either way, they move on to the next round, setting up a date with the number 1 team in the country, DePaul. And I'll leave you in suspense on that. But if you're paying attention, you should know who wins that game, because I already told you. Fast forward to 1987. Sixers lose to the Bulls 108-104. But the story was rookie for the Sixers, Allen Iverson, the signature moment of his rookie season. possibly one of the top 5 moments in his entire career. He was having himself a game, and then in the third quarter, off a screen, the Bulls switched. Michael Jordan, you heard Phil Jackson saying, get on him, Mike, get on him. So Michael Jordan gets up on Allen Iverson on the switch. AI proceeded to cross the GOAT over, step back, and hit a 20-footer, essentially breaking Mike's ankles if you watch the replay. But luckily for AI, he hit the jumper because it just doesn't have the same gravitas if he misses the shot. But I think watching the replays yesterday, and let me know what you think on this one. Go back and watch the replay of AI crossing over Iverson or Jordan. Lost in all of that was the fact that Michael Jordan was so good, he almost recovered to block the shot. So for everybody who says, oh, LeBron this, LeBron that, I don't see LeBron playing defense like that. Seriously, go back and watch it. Michael recovered enough to almost block that shot. LeBron would have been down saying he got fouled. And just as simple as that. But to almost recover from that, I mean, it was a great move by Iverson, but an even better defensive play on a shot that went in by the GOAT, Michael Jordan. Of course, the crowd went wild. AI finished the night with a then career high 67 points. And I think more so than anything, I remember watching this game live because I think a lot of times too, the Lakers aren't necessarily must-watch TV right now. But when the Bulls played back then, they were must-watch TV. You would watch them whenever, no matter who they were playing, you would watch them. So, and I just remember thinking, man, we have something special here in AI. And God, did we have something special with AI. But on this day in 1997, AI crosses over the GOAT, Michael Jordan, in the Sixers' 108-104 loss to the Bulls. But again, go back, and as I'm getting older and looking at it from, as my kids are getting into sports and basketball, you watch for different things. It was a hell of a recovery by Michael Jordan to almost block that shot. So go do yourself a favor and check it out. Fast forward to 2018, and we talk a lot about bad free agent signings. On this day in 2018, one of the worst in Phillies history happened. They signed Jake Arrieta right before opening day, and his entire tenure here was marred by injuries all 3 years. COVID certainly did not help the case for him. Never reached the level he was with the Cubs. Ironically enough, he was a teammate of Kyle Schwarber's on that Cubs World Series winning team. But Jake Arrieta came in with such hype. I remember me personally was super hype that he was here, and then just the injuries. Kudos to him, though. That first year, he did pitch injured throughout the entire season, didn't complain about it. And then I think they just all caught up with him. But Jake Arrieta signs with the Phillies on this day in 2018. And then in 2014, the Eagles made a signing, re-signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who started all 16 games for the Super Bowl champs that year, had 6 interceptions, returning 1 for a touchdown, but will likely most be remembered for the line after the Super Bowl, "We took belt to ass." And certainly the Eagles did take belt to ass of the Chiefs that day. Always, at this time of the year, there's always rumors about whether or not he's going to come back. I did see a Twitter post when they were asking him about the potential of coming back to the Eagles, and he joked about it. He's like, "I'm like the side hoe." So we'll see what happens. And that's a great analogy by CJGJ there. But the Eagles re-sign him on this day for his second stint in 2024, helping that defense go to the Super Bowl and put belt to ass on the Chiefs. And I figured I'd mention this on this day in 2020. After the NBA had suspended its season the night before, all major sports, college and professional around the world started shutting down. Phillies did get their spring training game in against the Tampa Bay Rays that day, one of only 5 games completed before the shutdown. It was only supposed to be for 2 weeks, if you remember. Oh, we'll just everybody stay in the house for 2 weeks and everything will be fine. Little did we know it would last well over a year. But COVID shut down sports on this day in 2020 after, I guess it started with the NBA when Rudy Gobert started touching everything in the post-game press conference, and then later, ironically enough, was diagnosed with COVID. So poor joke by Rudy, but everything shut down, and little did we know, 2 weeks was the understatement of the year. All right, it is Thursday. Time for a little Throwback Thursday brought to you by Lotwin. Get your 3D custom hype chains from Lotwin.com. Use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your orders. Youth sports are in full effect. Now would be a good time. Get a home run chain, whatever you got for your baseball seasons. Go to Lotwin.com. Use the promo code TCCPOD. And these things are sturdy, especially if you're dealing with kids, my kids' age. They're sturdy. They're not going to break them. But continuing our March Madness focus for Throwback Thursday, we're going to take a look at one of the more fun teams in Big Five history, the 2012-2013 LaSalle Explorers, who captivated the entire area during that run they had in the tournament. They finished 24-10 on the season, lost in the first round of the Atlantic 10 tournament, but was still good enough to get an at-large bid into the tournament. They were the 13 seed and had to have a play-in game. It was the first time they made the tournament since 1992, back when the L Train was there. They beat Boise 81-70 in the play-in game, went on to beat Kansas State 63-61 in the opening round, and then beat Ole Miss 76-74 in the round of 32 to move on to the Sweet 16. But more importantly, a star was born. Tyrone Garland hit the game-winning shot with 2.5 seconds left against Ole Miss. And then in the post-game interview, they asked him, "What do you call that shot?" And kids everywhere, I was teaching at the time, and whenever my kids would play basketball, they would do this shot. The Southwest Philly floater from Tyrone Garland beat Ole Miss to move LaSalle to the Sweet 16. Unfortunately, the clock struck midnight for Cinderella, as they had a shot to make it to the Elite Eight. They were playing the 9 seed Wichita State Shockers, but it was all Wichita 72-58. Wichita ended up, ironically enough, going to the Final Four, so no shame in LaSalle losing to a Final Four team. But that's our Throwback Thursday March Madness local team spotlight of the day, brought to you by Lotwin, the 2012-2013 LaSalle Explorers, led by Tyrone Garland and the Southwest Philly floater, making it all the way to the Sweet 16. Usually at that time, I did not root for other Big Five schools, but had to root for that team because they were fun. All right, and then finally today, our Women's History Month spotlight. Every journey starts somewhere. For these women, it started in Philly, whether it was on the playgrounds, rec centers, the gyms, or crowded college courts, and it all led to the NBA. Today, we're going to spotlight Kahleah Copper from North Philly. She went to Girard College and Prep Charter. She was all public league. She was a public league all-star, McDonald's All-American while in high school, which all of that led her to Rutgers, where she graduated as the 3rd all-time leading scorer in Rutgers school history. No small feat, because Rutgers had some pretty damn good women's team. She was first team American Athletic Conference during her time at Rutgers. That all led to being the number 7 overall pick with the Washington Mystics, where in the WNBA, all she did was become a 4-time All-Star. She made it all the way to All-NBA second team, but more importantly, she was a champion, and she won the Finals MVP in 2021 while playing for the Chicago Sky. After her WNBA time was over, she went overseas, dominated over there, becoming the EuroLeague MVP. She also won an Olympic gold medal. So Kahleah Copper, one hell of a player from the city of Philadelphia. Girard College and Prep Charter to Rutgers, to the WNBA, to Europe, to the international stage, winning an Olympic gold medal. All she does is win. From North Philly to Rutgers to WNBA championships, Olympic gold medals, and European MVPs. We celebrate the journey, and today we celebrate Kahleah Copper's journey from North Philly to the international stage and becoming one of the best players in the WNBA, winning the Finals MVP. Let me know your thoughts on that LaSalle team, though. That was a fun team. 267-495-8531. On this day in 2020, all major sports be shut down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It was only supposed to be 2 weeks, but we all know it lasted way longer than that. CJ came back to the Eagles in 2024, started all 16 games, helping the Eagles lay belt to ass to the Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. 2018, one of the worst signings. Jake Arrieta signs with the Phillies. Didn't play much due to injury. And then, of course, Allen Iverson crosses over Michael Jordan in 1997. 1981, St. Joe's starts their magical run in the NCAA tournament with a 59-57 win over Creighton. And then, of course, Chuck Klein inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame by the Veterans Committee on this day in 1980, which leads to the trivia question: what other Phillies have hit 4 home runs in a game? We'll have more on the Sixers and Flyers tomorrow. Of course, any news out of Eagles camp, I'm telling you, I'm expecting to open the show tomorrow with the announcement that the Eagles re-signed Dallas Goddard. But let me know your thoughts on the A.J. Brown situation, Jalen Carter. I want to talk about the fiasco that is Max Crosby, the Raiders, and the Ravens. All of that is fair game. Should we be concerned that Jahad Campbell has a shoulder injury? Should Howie address it? Let's have some fun on the Back to the Future voice and text line today. 267-495-8531. Enjoy this wild weather day. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for March 12th, 2026. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.